And we do a nice sort so that it is done by buildings and by their respective wings. Here we go. That looks pretty. All right, here we go. So folks were asking about the schedule of wing meetings for when residents arrive. So those are going to start Monday night, and if need be, go through Wednesday. Like we talked about earlier, there are going to be some physical spaces set aside for y'all if that is something that y'all want to do. Otherwise, the Zoom format is the other preferred option as well too. But let me show you what the screen looks like for that. And then I'm just going to put this draft schedule up on Canvas for folks to look at so that you have a rough idea. I'm still finalizing some of these locations today. Folks are able to see that, I think. Make it a little better. But basically, here's what's available and kind of the breakdown. So each of the halls, this is color-coded right now, has some physical spaces set aside for y'all to meet in person with your communities if you want to do that. It's up to you as your staffs to decide if that's what you want to do with some of y'all. And you can kind of see that some of them are in the halls specifically because you have the space to do that. Some of them aren't because you might not have the space to do that. I'm sorry, Joe Green. And a couple of other places you have some, but not enough. So all these spaces have been reserved for you. What you'll see on the right side is me going through to try to confirm some things. Basically, what days those spaces are available. And if it's basically marked as a yes, that means it's available from the entire 2-hour block from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. If it's marked yes and it has a different time by it, it means it's only available for that hour starting at that time. So if you want to use these for physical meetings, these are all the spaces being provided to y'all. They are as close as I can get to some of your locations. I know that's not as close as I want it to be, but as close as I can get. Victory, for instance, you're not going anywhere away from your part of campus. We were able to get Apogee Stadium for y'all, for instance, along with the Victory Seminar Room. And if there are spaces on here that feel missing, like, oh no, we can put 11 people in these spaces with physical distancing, CDs, you know that information for sure. Feel free to use those as well too. But again, this will be updated. What is not going to change are the times for these meetings. Please follow this schedule just so that we do not have a congestion of people all trying to get onto Zoom at the same time for all of the buildings. Let's just try to space them out a little bit. They are all at the same time, no matter what day it is. So that way your residents just don't get confused by that, and that you don't get confused by that either. I know you have a lot of stuff going on right now. But that's what its schedule looks like. I'm going to put this very rough draft up on Canvas. It's probably going to change by the end of the day, and that will probably see that reflection later tonight as well too. So just to give you that idea as to what that looks like, that's what it is. All right, Aundrea, I'm going to turn it over to you to start talking about first flight and what that means.
Awesome. Tomas, I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
The RAs are already in Canvas. Would it make sense for me to send you like these PowerPoint presentations and things like that to upload there for them? And we can talk later offline. Yeah, I didn't realize they were in Canvas.
No, we can do that. I will create a module just for that so they can see it that way too.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, y'all, I'm going to pull up my presentation and we're going to start talking about first flight. For those of you who don't know me, I am Aundrea Caraway. I use she, her pronouns, and I and one of the assistant directors in the Office of Orientation and Transition Programs. And so I've been working on First Flight this year. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about First Flight, let you know how things are working, and let you know what your responsibilities are for First Flight this year. I just want to say thank you for all that you are doing for our students. I just cannot imagine just the amount of flexibility and adaptability that y'all are doing and learning right now. And so I hope that you know that you are appreciated and things like that, because we could not do these things without you. And the fact that you are here for students, just with all of the changes that are happening this year, I'm so proud of y'all. All right. So First Flight, it's required of all new first-time in college students. We do have some options for transfer students and continuing students to participate and things like that. And so on our website now, if you go to transfercenter.unt.edu, they can sign up for the transfer experience, and that sign up will remain open next week. And so we'll just add people as they sign up there. When the First Flight course goes live, there will also be a duplicate course for continuing students, for TAM students, for transfer students, for pretty much students who are not required to complete it. They'll have an option to still engage in with some of the content. I'm sure most of you all are aware, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, First Flight is completely online this year. And so students will be able to complete all of their program expectations, whether or not they are on campus. And so all First Flight programs, links, information, all that good stuff will be housed in the First Flight Canvas course that all first-time in college students will be enrolled in. And they will have access to the course starting Sunday, August 16th at 8 a.m. So we've been getting a lot of questions about, I'm not in there yet. You're not supposed to be. First Flight starts on Sunday, even though move-in is a little bit earlier this year. First Flight still starts on Sunday, and so that's when they'll get access to the course. The only thing that they will need for First Flight that might not be in the Canvas course, we're still a little on the fence of whether or not we're going to put your Zoom links for your meetings in there, just because if we put students in groups by their residence hall or by their wing, that would like indicate where they live, and I'm really uncomfortable with that. And so if there's not a good way to do that without indicating that, we're going to send them their Zoom links through their email. And so I just wanted to kind of put that out there for you. So the First Flight schedule, each First Flight group, so all of your wings will be assigned a dining hall and specific meal times for you and your students to go to the dining hall, really to promote social distancing. We also have wristbands for you all in different colors and designs, so that you can we'll have this idea that you keep your family, your flock, your group together, and that's who y'all are interacting with, and you're not doing a lot of mingling and mixing with other groups. And so those wristbands are going to help you identify and help students identify who's a part of their group and who is not. That's also going to be how the dining hall staff kind of recognizes who is supposed to be in the dining hall at a particular time. And so there will be a rotation. We're still working on finalizing it, but for those of you that have folks moving in Friday, we'll have that rotation for you. And it will be the same for the entire week. So starting tomorrow, when students move in, through the entirety of First Flight week. And you will it'll be a little different from previous years in First Flight, where we just kind of did a lunch rotation. You will actually get a time for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, again, just so we can promote that social distancing in the dining halls. Most of the required sessions for students where they have to be logged in at a specific time because they're doing something through Zoom, those will start on Wednesday. And so Wednesday, 9 a.m., they've got college day. 3 to 4, they have their first small group. 4 to 5 is convocation. And then Thursday and Friday, there are small group sessions through Zoom from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And so this year, your only responsibility as a First Flight leader, and I know you all have other responsibilities as RAs, but your First Flight responsibilities this year are just to do these small group meetings with students. And so to provide that connection for students to get to know you and to get to know each other, as well as giving them a little bit of content. Small group meetings will be facilitated through Zoom. And so I've already created Zoom links for all of you all, and you will be added as alternate hosts so that you can start your meetings yourselves. I had to create the Zoom link so that I'm able to get the reports for attendance. And students are gonna have to log in with their single sign-on. And so that means when they go to the link, they're gonna need to click SSO so they can sign in with their UNT EUID and password. And that's how it's gonna automatically record their attendance. The link for your meeting is set up as a reoccurring meeting. And so the link will be open all week for small group. And so you'll use it for small group, but if you wanted to do something like a Kahoot night or something just in between, feel free to use the link for that. Nope, Sarah's shaking her head, no. Oh.
No, I'm not shaking my head, sorry.
Okay, no worries. So if you want to use that Zoom link for other things like that throughout the week, that's okay, that's fine. I don't mind. Do what you want. It'll be over though, and it'll close and end at the end of First Flight Week. Students are going to be emailed their small group link through their First Flight check-in pass. And so if you have students who don't know what their link is for small groups, tell them to check their email. It's in there, and those emails are going out today. So they should have them, you know, well in advance of when their first small group is, because small groups don't start until Wednesday of next week. I also encourage you, if you're able to like make a QR code and post it on your wing somewhere for your small group link, that might help folks. And so I'll send this stuff over to Tomas so that he can put this the list in your Canvas course so you're able to see what those links are. Now, as I was going through and trying to add you all as alternate hosts, we ran into a little problem, but it is a fixable problem. A lot of you have not signed into Zoom yet with your single sign-on yet. And so your email, or at least the email I had for you, was not yet connected to your Zoom account. So I am going to drop a link in the chat now, and it's a Qualtrics link. And what I need you to do is I need you to go to unt.zoom.us. And I need you to sign in with your EUID and password. And you can do this now, like right now, as we're talking, it'll be great. So go to unt.zoom.us. And once you get signed on with your EUID and password, go to your profile and see what email is attached to your UNT Zoom account. I'm not able to add you as an alternate host if it's not the account that's connected to your UNT Zoom. And then give me just a second to pull up the chat. I'm gonna drop that Qualtrics link in the chat so that you all can send me what email is connected so I can start getting you added as alternate host. This is really important, and so if you can do it now, I would appreciate it, and things like that. And then if I'm still missing folks on our master list, I will reach out to your community directors and such so that we can get that taken care of. But that's going to be really important so that you are able to start your own meeting. Alrighty. And I don't have access to this chat because this isn't my Zoom meeting. And so if you all could use the Qualtrics link and just fill that out. I'm also asking for like your student ID. That way I can match you up if some people have the same name. And so please use the Qualtrics link and not the chat to give me that email. That way I'm able to access it and I don't have to ask Sarah and somebody else to send me the chat log and all that good stuff. Thank y'all so much. And so, whoops, went too fast. One thing I really want to emphasize and talk about with you all is that your role for First Flight this year, yes, there is some content in your small group meetings to guide those conversations, but I am more concerned with your connection to students versus content. Your students are going to get tons of content, lots of content through the First Flight Canvas course. And so I really, in your small group meetings, want you to focus on building that connection. I was just in a webinar with students and parents last night about First Flight and Move In. And many of the questions and concerns that students and parents are having right now, outside of just kind of their safety concerns around COVID, is their ability to connect with other students and to make sure that their student is connected and just not in their room alone with no type of social interaction. And so that's what I want you to do in your small group meetings, is really encourage your students to share, ask lots of questions, whether that, help them get connected with each other. So if they need to exchange contact information and all that good stuff, that connection is important. And I know that y'all are probably doing some things already on your end about how you're going to build community virtually with your students this year. And so just know that as we're going through the small group meeting stuff, that's my hope. And so yes, there's content there and there are things to guide your conversation, but the content is not as important as the connection.
Hey, Aundrea, can I interrupt real quick? I'm getting a lot of questions about the Qualtrics link.
Okay.
So if they've already linked with their SSO, they don't need to do the Qualtrics, right?
No, they don't need to. That's okay.
And if their email that they normally use is their student email, do they need to change it to their work email?
At this point, I would prefer they just go to the profile and see what's linked to their Zoom account and just use that. So if it is their student email, that's okay. And that's what I'll use and things like that. And some of you are connected. It may just be good to double check and send it in the Qualtrics anyway. But I will say most of you are not.
Okay, perfect. Those were most of the questions. So
awesome. Is the Qualtrics working for everyone? Because I did it real quick, like in between presentations. So making sure I turned everything on.
It's working.
Okay, awesome. Thank y'all so much. Okay. One of my concerns, and I have a degree in learning technologies, and I know that accessibility is really hard when we're looking at online learning, when we're looking at engaging students online. And so one thing I want to make sure that you're doing is for the programs and things that are in the First Flight Canvas course, I have tried to guide our campus partners in making sure that they have transcripts, that things are accessible as possible and things like that. I think we might still have some problems and some issues. And so what I'm asking of you all is don't just let a student struggle through that. Get with your community director and they can get with me so that if there are accessibility issues as students are, whether that's having access to technology or whether it is accessibility in terms of a disability that someone might have and something in the course is not up to standards, communicate those things with us. We'll be working on, we'll continue to kind of tweak things and try to fix things as we find them throughout the week, but don't let your students struggle in that. That's really important. And so we want to make sure that we find solutions and alternatives for your students if they may need them. All right, so we've already started getting our Zoom accounts connected. I just put that in as a reminder in case I forgot in my presentation. So now I'm going to get into your small group meetings and what the content is for your small group meetings. You are actually going to get these slides to use. So you'll be able to share your screen and you can use these slides to guide you. And then I'll also have notes in the slides just to help you out a little bit as you go along as well. And so this should be pretty easy for you all. And so small group meeting 1 is really just to welcome your students and to give them an overview of First Flight and how it's working and just to answer any questions that they might have and things like that. And so the first one for introductions is really, you can, if you have a small wing, you can have folks introduce themselves on video if they're comfortable with that and they want to do that, that's completely fine. Or you can just have them drop their name and major in the chat. And if you want to change this question or add something to it, you know, change it, make it yours, all that good stuff is fine. And so we'll set a few ground rules for the week. And so emphasizing that our small group meeting needs to be a safe space where everyone can feel comfortable sharing and participating in discussion. And so we're going to ask that everyone, you know, be respectful of others. Know that these are challenged by choice. And so if people don't want to share something or they're uncomfortable, that's okay. If people don't want to have their cameras on during Zoom, that's okay. You know, try to take into consideration that people are going to have different levels of comfort with engaging in this way, especially with people that they don't know yet. And so that's okay. So kind of set those expectations. Emphasize to them to be on time. I mean, this isn't as important as it's been in previous years because we're not actually like going places, but encourage them to, you know, be respectful of everyone's time and get into Zoom, you know, when they're supposed to, and encourage them to participate. Like, this is how you're going to build those connections. This is how you're going to get to know the other folks in your group and on your wing and all of that good stuff. And then give your group a chance to add their own expectations and make this fun. So, I mean, if the expectation is every small group, you have a meme about your day, you know what? Add it to your expectations. That's fun. That's a way for students to engage and be a part of this process of building that community in your wing and in your group. All righty, I have to keep moving you all, your cameras, so I can see what's on my slides. Okay, and so you'll give them an overview of what First Flight is. So First Flight is our official Welcome Week program, and it's designed to help new students start their college experience on the right foot. And so our big goals for the week is that they build community, that they learn spirit and traditions, that they prepare for the start of classes, and that they develop personal and social responsibility. And then you can also let them know that they'll be able to complete all of their expectations online. I may tweak this slide before I give it to you because all of your students are on campus, and so we don't necessarily need to have that caveat in there and things like that. And then just reminding them where they can find everything, that everything is housed in the First Flight course, and that they'll have access to the course from August 16th through the 23rd. So they have until Sunday the 23rd to fulfill their First Flight expectations. Then it's going to be important to break down some terms for students since we are completely online. And so one thing that is a little confusing is that we have a lot of different types of programs in a variety of formats. Some of them you can do on your own time, and that's good. Some of them are through Zoom or Teams, and it requires that you be in a certain place at a certain time. And so the terms, the official terms for those things, and it's good for them to learn these terms because it will help in their classes too. So you can also let them know that you may hear some of these terms in your online classes about just giving you some explanations of the format. So asynchronous programs means that these programs are available 24/7. You can make your schedule and complete them on your own time. Synchronous programs means these programs are happening live and you have to log in at a specific time to participate in the program. And so the students are getting some language about this, and so this shouldn't be the first time that they're seeing it, but this will serve as a good reminder. We're encouraging all students to log in on Sunday, even though there's nothing required that they have to do on Sunday, so that they can see like our department's programming, you know, starting Monday and all of that good stuff. And so if they wait until Wednesday to ever log in, they'll miss some things that were happening live and things like that they may have been interested in attending. And so we're encouraging on our end students to log in on Sunday so that they can kind of look at what they want to do. But if students haven't done that yet, this is a good chance for you to encourage them to get into the course and to decide what programs they want to complete and do for their requirements. So in terms of their expectations, they need to complete the University 101 model, and that is asynchronous, so they can do it on their own time. They need to complete the student lifetime module where we'll talk about strengths and growth mindset. That is also asynchronous, so they can do it on their own time. Their small group meetings with you all are synchronous. College day with their college or school is synchronous, and all of those links and things will be in the First Flight course. New student convocation is synchronous, and then they need to attend 8 First Flight programs in the following categories. Those of you who, well, most of you have done First Flight before, and things like that. You'll see we've added a new category, our community, which is really talking about what does it mean to be a part of our caring community. And so you'll see a lot of things around diversity, inclusion, and equity in that category. You'll see some things about bystander intervention in that category, about kind of sharing ideas in a respectful way and things like that. Those are going to be the types of things that you see in the our community category. The others should be familiar. So they need to complete 3 My Prep programs, 2 My Life programs, 1 My Health and Wellness program, 1 My Future program, and 1 in the Our Community category. There are over 150 programs being offered this year, and they are arranged in the First Flight Canvas course and in the First Flight book by category. So right on the homepage, when they get into Canvas, there's a button that they can click that will take them straight to University 101, or that will take them straight to Student Lifetime, or that will take them straight to My Prep programs. And so it should be pretty easy for them to navigate through that. And then they are also getting a physical First Flight book. And so the listing of the programs is there. Similar to previous years, our First Flight book has to go to print pretty early. And so some things with programs change. And so it is important to let students know that the Canvas course is going to be the most up-to-date list of programs and the most up-to-date list of program times and all of that good stuff. I also think it's good at this point in time, since we're using Canvas and since they'll be using Canvas throughout the semester as well for a lot of their courses, to tell them to download the app so that they can get things pretty accessible and all of that good stuff too. And so there is an app for Canvas, and they can sign in with their EUID and password, and that way they can access things on the go as well. So program attendance, small group meetings, and we talked about this a little bit earlier. You don't have to do anything. When they log in with their EUID and password, and it won't let them log in any other way. I set it to where they have to log in with their EUID and password. I will get those attendance reports, so you don't have to do anything. Everything else for First Flight is going to be tracked through the Canvas course. And so it's important that you remind your students that if there are any knowledge checks or activities for programs that they participate in, they need to make sure to do those things. So it's not just going to give you your credit if you watch a video. It's probably something associated with that video on that same page for the program that you have to complete so that you are able to get your credit and it shows up in the grade book. And so if they need help logging into Canvas, they can just go to canvas.unt.edu and log in with their EUID and password. Again, it's a good time to just let them know to go in, see what's there, and kind of decide what you're going to participate in and go to things that interest you. A lot of questions that we got last night on the webinar is people are asking how long programs are and how much time should this take to complete. It depends. All of the programs are different lengths and things like that. I have encouraged, since we're in a virtual format, if you can break your program up into smaller pieces, I think micro learning is a little bit better in this context. And so there are some programs that are, maybe will take 15 minutes to complete. And it's like a video on test anxiety with some knowledge check questions. There are other things, especially if something's happening through Zoom or live, that will take a little bit more time and be a little bit longer. And so that can help provide your students some context of how long this is going to take them to complete. University 101 will not take them longer than an hour to complete. Student Lifetime will not take them longer than an hour to complete. And to be honest, you have an hour for your small group meetings. You may not go the full hour. There's not a lot of content in the small group meetings because, again, I want you to focus on that connection. So hopefully you are stretching out that time just chatting with your students and seeing how they're feeling and giving them opportunities to chat and connect with each other. And so next, you'll go over the First Flight schedule. And so you can let them know that all week there are programs to participate in the First Flight Canvas course. We also, since orientation was virtual this year, we have all their orientation shirts. And so they can pick them up in the Union from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday next week. And it is truly like an assembly line. So both doors of 339 will be open. You'll go in one way, you'll walk, you'll go get your shirt, and you will walk right out, and things like that. So they can pick up their shirts. And then you can go over the schedule, letting them know that the things that they are required to participate in at a specific time start on Wednesday. And so it'll start at 9 a.m. With College Day, and then they'll be in your first small group meeting. So hopefully they didn't miss College Day, but if they did, there are probably ways to catch up and get that information. And then right after your small group meeting, let them know that they'll be going to convocation next. And then let them know that you will have 2 more small group meetings on Thursday and Friday. Dining. So this will be a slide that you'll need to customize. So when we get that list out to you with what dining hall you're in and what your breakfast, lunch, and dinner times are, you can put this on the slide for your students so that they are all aware. Students will also, in their check-in pass, will email them their information about dining so that they know. It may also, again, to be good to just print this out and post it on your wing so that your students know. Yeah, you'll have kind of, there won't be a lot of time for you all in the dining hall. So you'll have about, a 30-minute time span in there, just so that we can get everyone in for their meals while social distancing. And then you can just offer some advice for the week, encourage them to not be afraid to ask questions. So whether it's in their small group or whether it's in other programs and things that they're participating in, someone else probably has the same questions you do. Having a great attitude is going to make First Flight, a better experience for you. Meet new people, and I have added this caveat in there considering the circumstances. Connect with other members of your group and of your wing virtually, or with appropriate social distancing measures. So you all will be better able to speak to what is happening in the residence halls in terms of students maybe connecting one-on-one with other people and getting to know people. And so just kind of let them know that making connections will maybe a little different, but you can still make connections and we want you to do that. And then honestly, to relax and have fun. First Flight can be very overwhelming for students. So do your best to just kind of ease their anxieties. Let them know that they've got all week to get their expectations completed, to reach out to you for help and all of that good stuff. And then you can just end your small group with questions. And then maybe these are some just kind of questions that I put at the end so that, if no one really has questions, but you want to continue engaging and creating those connections, ask them how they're feeling, what programs are you interested in participating in, how can you help? So that's small group meeting 1, and that's probably the longest presentation of the 3. So small group meeting 2 is about getting involved on campus. And so this is a space for you to put your own icebreaker question in or verbally give them the icebreaker question on Zoom. But I think to start each of your small groups with some sort of question where they can get to know each other better and drop their answers in the chat is a good way to engage your students. And so we'll do the ideal college student activity. Some of you may remember this from last year. It's still in here. And so give them about 10 minutes to draw their ideal college student. And think about the things that they might need. So do they have a backpack? Or you may even say, do they have a mask? Maybe, a cell phone to stay connected to family and friends. Whatever it is, whatever they think their college student needs, they can do that. And then what you are going to do as you facilitate this is talk about the difference between what you thought an ideal college student was before you started, and now that you have experience as a college student, what has changed in your perspective, and share that with your students. And I'll put that there in the notes of this presentation so that you remember to go through and do that. And then, whoops, it's going too fast. Ask if they want to share their picture. So even if they drew it on paper and they want to hold it up, or if you want to use the whiteboard feature of Zoom and you feel comfortable doing that, again, this is a great opportunity to create those connections and give your students a way to engage with you in their present during their small group session. And so the next question that we're going to ask them is your ideal student engaged? What are they involved in on campus? And so this is a chance for you to hear from your students of what ideas do they have about getting involved on campus? What ideas do they have about what it means to be engaged? And then you're going to give them this definition of engagement, which is to be actively engaged. It means you're participating in your community in more than one way. So not only are you attending class, but you're participating in study groups, working a job, giving back to the community through service, socially involved with organizations on and off campus. And then this slide is a really great place for you to share as a student leader. What are you involved in on campus? How have you been engaged on campus? Where are you connected on campus? So they can kind of see what that looks like in actuality and have the opportunity to ask you questions about what you're involved in. And then we'll kind of let them know that research shows that the more connected students are to their campus and community, the more likely they're to stay in school and graduate on time. And so we know that students do better when they're connected and when they're engaged. And so encourage them to find what it is and how they want to get connected this year at UNT. And that's really it for your second small group. You'll kind of check in with them and see how is completing your first flight expectations going. And then just ask them how they plan to get involved on campus, and if there are ways you can connect them to the ways that they want to be involved. Use your expertise as a student leader to do that and show them where they can do that. It also, and I'll probably maybe edit the PowerPoint just a little bit and add in some information about Mean Green Fling. It'll run virtually this year, and it'll run throughout the week so that they have an opportunity to learn about what student organizations are here on campus so that they can get a little bit of a better idea of how they want to be involved. And so the last small group meeting is really about goal setting and motivation. And so it's not a lot of slides with this one. But again, you'll do an icebreaker. So pick a question, a fun question to ask your students and have them drop their answer in the chat or do it over the video. And then you're going to talk about SMART goals. So SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And I'm going to give you some longer definitions in the notes for each of those things to talk about with your students. And then you're going to have them set one long-term goal, so like a goal for the entire academic year or beyond. And then you're going to have them create one short-term goal, so something they want to do maybe this semester, or maybe within the first 6 weeks of classes starting and things like that. And then invite your students to share those goals. And then maybe even since you are all living together, make a commitment to hold each other accountable and support each other in achieving and reaching those goals so that they know they have a support team. And then you'll kind of take any last questions and see how they're feeling about starting classes next week. And that's the end of small group 3. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and I think we have maybe a few minutes, like 7 minutes. If there are questions folks have or anything that I didn't cover that you have questions about.
Moderating the questions, so I have them pulled aside if they've asked them during the
Oh, okay, awesome.
So if students have prior engagements such as UNT cheer or band, how do they go about making up sessions specifically?
So similar to previous years, there is a first flight exemption form on our website under the frequently asked questions. We always grant exemptions for students that are doing band, cheer, and all of that good stuff. And so, yes, just have them submit a first flight exemption, and that's completely fine.
Are the small break, or are the small groups just their residents? Or are they multiple groups of residents?
It's just your residents. So you are going to be with your residents for first flight, which I think is a really good thing and a big win for y'all this year. Kind of a silver lining in our situation.
Will Willis Library be available, or is there another resource should residents struggle with access to technology?
Willis Library will be available, and they have devices that can be checked out and things like that. I'll circle back around and see what their process is during first flight and things like that. That's a very good question. But they're open now for students and things like that. And so I'll just double check and circle back around with how they can access those things. And then are there any resources? I know it's been a long time since I've worked for housing. Do they have access to computers and things like that in the residence halls? Are those all gone? No.
But most of those are pretty much gone at this point, yeah.
Okay. I've been building the course, I've been trying to look at it on the Canvas app, and so that if they're on a smartphone or mobile device, we can also just make sure that we know, I know what it looks like for them, so that if they're not on a laptop or a computer, that they can still participate and access the information. But very good question. Let me double check on a couple of things with the libraries and computer labs, so I can just make sure that we will have the ability to provide students with that.
Will the RAs be receiving a notebook or a folder for First Flight Week?
Nope, we are all virtual this year. So we're going to save the paper, save the trees and all of that good stuff. And so all of these resources you will get, you'll get electronically.
There are a couple questions about what happens when residents don't attend First Flight Week, and then the RA's responsibility in submitting any sort of documentation on attendance.
So you are not responsible for submitting any attendance documentation this year. The way things are set up virtually, I can actually see how students are engaging everywhere. So I can see who's in your Zoom meeting. I can see who is doing things in the Canvas course. I can see who's completed University 101 and all of that good stuff. So you are not responsible for any attendance things this year, which is part of the reason why we're not giving you a folder, just because it isn't really necessary this year for what you're doing. And then, I'm sorry, you asked another question and it just left my mind what it was.
No, just the responsibility of submitting that. Oh, what happens if they don't?
Oh yeah, what happens if they don't? So we'll probably do what we've done in previous years, which it's a little redundant since University 101 is online for everyone this year. But after we see who participates, we put them in a University 101 Canvas course to at least get that information about registration and things like that. And so if I see that that someone hasn't participated, we'll do that again so that they get another chance to see the information. But First Flight is not intended to be punitive. And so and understand this is a tough time for students and for everyone as they are navigating going to college and navigating the pandemic. I don't want this to be an added source of stress or anxiety for students. And so if you have students that aren't coming to your small group meetings, check in on them, make sure everything's okay, but this doesn't need to be a punitive thing. It doesn't need to be, you didn't show up to my small group meeting, so you're in trouble. It should be, hey, I see that you missed our small group meeting and I wanna make sure that you know how to access it through Zoom. I wanna make sure that you're doing okay, and all of that type of stuff. When we look at First Flight participation, we look at kind of overall participation and engagement. We don't necessarily look so detailed to see that every single student has hit every single expectation. We look at their overall participation and engagement in the program because this is for them. It's to help them. So this is not a punitive thing for them.
Perfect. What are the expectations of RAs in terms of taking their residents to eat? Can they take their food to go? All of those questions there's about 5 questions related to, are they required to eat in the dining hall if they're not comfortable?
So no one is required to eat in the dining hall. And then Tomas, do you want to chime in about expectations for taking students to the dining halls?
It would be nice to do that, but I also, again, understand the concerns that folks have. If you can do that once, I would appreciate it. But I really don't expect anything more beyond that. Part of this is also, again, how do we balance our own needs around safety and all that, as well as the residents. So at least once would be appreciated. You also don't need to do it with like everyone at once, you know, all 50 or 60 of your residents in some cases. You might need to do just one time and that's it with everyone. And that's all I would really encourage you to do.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I think there is going to be some space to be able to sit down in the dining hall, but they're really going to encourage y'all to grab and go, just as we're social distancing and things like that.
The time of the small group meetings, are those being sent out to the residents every time? Are they getting a link sent to them every time, or is it the same link?
It's the same link. So you are using the same link the entire week. And so the language the students are getting in their check-in pass is their check-in pass will tell them that they have small group meetings Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. and that this is the link you use for all of your small group meetings.
And then this isn't so much a question for you, Aundrea, but more to Moss, I suppose. What if we don't have freshmen?
Woo! I mean, pretty much. You don't have First Flight responsibilities for that time period. You still need to have your wing meetings as indicated in part of the as part of the curriculum, but you don't have your First Flight meetings to worry about that week.
And Tomas, again, sorry, another question about wing meetings. Those start Monday and they go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, correct?
Yes. Yep, and then your First Flight meetings go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There's going to be some confusion about that. I know that for sure. The Zoom stuff that I talked about early last week with y'all, those are different Zoom links that your residents are going to have access to versus the Zoom links that Aundrea has set up for y'all. And that's really a logistical thing in terms of making sure that y'all don't have to do anything with the Zoom links that Aundrea sent you in terms of like turning in a report. Because she is the host that created them, she gets an automatic report as to who attended so that you don't have to do that. That's the reason that the two kind of links exist. The one that I talked about last week with y'all, create it, use it for your floor meetings, and then use it for the rest of the year. Aundrea, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the first flight links that you're sending out will expire after Friday.
I may wait till Sunday to delete them, but after first flight, they will be deleted off my account. It's a lot of y'all. Anything else?
I think I got all of the questions. If anyone has any more questions that I haven't gotten to, I think I've got everything.
I've got one question about the Excel document that I showed you at the beginning that should be uploaded to Canvas right now on the lesson plan for opening meetings. So that module, it should be up and running right now.
Alrighty, well, thank you all so much for your time, your attention, and your great questions. Again, it's always a pleasure to come and spend some time with you all and to work with you all on First Flight, because truly you make this experience for our students. They are excited and ready to connect with you all, and so I hope you have a good week. Reach out to your community directors if you have questions or if issues come up during First Flight. They know how to get a hold of me directly, since First Flight is a crazy week for me, and my email inbox is flooded, and so probably the fastest way to get your question answered is going to be to go through your community director versus emailing me directly, since I'll be kind of on the lookout for community director communications a little more closely. All right, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your
guys.
Good
Thanks, Aundrea.
Bye.
Bye. All right, everyone, this is our last official thing for RLT, and we start with move-in tomorrow. So get excited and get ready as we open up.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm going to keep it open for a little bit in case I have any lingering questions, but otherwise, feel free to jump off. And I have a soft recording, so it's not awkward.